Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. And today we just want to ask the question, who do you trust for your music income? Many places pay us music income, right? Many sites, many companies that we're associated with. Do you use BMI as your PRO? Do you use ASCAP or your country's PRO? Who pays you for royalties when you get them? Pretty important, especially if you focus on sync, or radio for your music. Do you use DistroKid to distribute your music, or CDBaby, or Amuse, or Songtrader, or now even TikTok, right? Which one is right for you? Do you use Identify to collect content ID, or AdRev, or even your distributor? We're going to talk about that. Which one can you count on for the most income? Do you do stock music? If so, which library or libraries are your breadwinners? Which ones bring in the most money and work best for you? So today, Steve and I really just want to be talking about our breadwinners in all of these, or at least the companies we are putting our trust in to make music income. But first, let me introduce you to my partner in crime here on the podcast, Mr. Steve Bedall. Steve, how has your week been? Pretty good, I think.
Trust no one, as they say on
you gotta trust somebody.
X-Files. No, I have many trusted sources for my income, so we'll get into that. But yeah, I had a great week. I've been having a good month on Motion Array. It's not quite as awesome as last month, but I should be able to hopefully get up to around like $600 or $700 by the end of this month, which is awesome. And I had a pretty decent month on Audio Jungle too. All things, which is kind of funny considering I've stopped uploading to them. Like I haven't uploaded anything to them in quite a while, but should be getting about $120 or something like that from them. So that's all good. I got my first payment from the affiliate marketing I did for Output, which was a couple $100, and nice. I got another payment due from them at some point. It's the process of getting the payment processing it takes a little bit of time. But anyway, that was a cool little adventure. Hopefully I'll do more of that in the future. Having an awesome month on production music tools. I broke my sales record for this month. A lot of people buying the MIDI packs, which is really, really great. And I actually had my friend Greg Norlin produce a MIDI pack, a piano pack last month that's now live on the site. And he did an absolutely fantastic job with that piano pack. It's called Emotional Piano Progressions. He was one of the first people that reached out to me over email back when I was looking to hire some folks to do these packs for the site. And it just so happened that he lives here in Vancouver, just randomly. And he actually showed up at one of my shows I did last month. And I got to meet him, which was really, really great. Super nice guy and yeah, super talented dude. So if he's listening, big shout out to Greg. Also want to shout out one of the members in the academy, in the Production Music Academy, just quickly, Bjorn, who goes by the artist name Bo, and he is going down the Barracuda path. For those listening, if you haven't watched Eric's interview with Dan Barracuda about how he pays his, we'll put it up there. About how he pays his rent with Spotify. You got to go watch that. I think it's one of the most interesting interviews that you ever did.
He's doubled that at least since then.
So cool. So cool. So anyway, Bjorn is going down that road. He's got several different unique Spotify artist profiles now, which he's set up with DistroKid. Mm-hmm. And he's writing for these playlists, essentially. Or at least he is with the lo-fi playlist, and he managed to get one of his tracks on Spotify's lo-fi beats playlist, which has almost 5 million subscribers to it.
I listen to that all the time.
It's crazy. It's a huge win. And so his monthly listeners are now, I think I just checked, it's like almost 80,000 monthly listeners. And his track, it's called When It Rains It Pours, is, I think it's close to 100,000 streams now. Wow. Huge win. And Bjorn also recently got accepted to Artlist. So I'm not sure if that same track is on Artlist, but man,
he's hitting it.
Killing it. So yeah,
Great.
really stoked for him. Big shout out. I'm not sure if he listens to the podcast, but if he does, a way to go, Bjorn.
Dan Barracuda, just as an aside, just told us on Monday in our mastermind group that he got into a new playlist, a new Spanish guitar playlist, the one he's been waiting for. And
no way!
It's got 1 to 2 million listeners, so he's expecting things to really kind of change. So we'll keep monitoring that. We may have him back on here, or I may interview him again and
do a follow up.
What's happened, because it continues just to expand.
It's so cool, and I'm definitely gonna try the Barracuda method myself pretty soon here. But at the moment, it's hard to do much of that.
He's got to patent that, the Barracuda method.
Yeah, that's what I mean. that's what we've been calling it in the academy, is the Barracuda way.
This is the way. You watch Star Wars.
Artlist is keeping me super busy. I'm working with the Originals team to release my lo-fi hip-hop album. That's like a 9-track album. That's in the works at the moment. I can't really go into all the details of that deal, but there's a few things that still need to be worked out. But I will be working with their team to promote and release that album, because they're effectively acting as my distributor for that release. So and aside from that, working on a 3-track commission for the Originals team separately from that. So yeah, super busy. I pulled like a 10-hour mixing and producing day yesterday, and my ears are kind of shot. And I still have to print the stems from all these tracks. It's gonna be a lot of work. But
I have a question about that still.
Yeah,
I'm still, and you've tried to explain this to me a few times, but maybe that'd be good for you to explain to listeners as far as what you know. Since Artlist Originals is Artlist Originals Motion Array Originals?
I know you asked me that last time, and like it's only an assumption that it must be, because like I don't know of any Motion Array Originals team. Artlist, of course, owns Motion Array.
You don't know of any Artlist Originals on Artlist?
No, well, that's the funny thing is that they don't get released as Artlist Originals on Artlist. They get released, like, so for example, even though I'm working for Artlist Originals, the tracks still get released under my name on Artlist. But I'm assuming that those get repackaged and released, excuse me,
for Motion Array
as
Originals.
Motion Array Originals on Motion Array.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's what I'm assuming. I can't see how it would be any other way.
That makes sense. Sense.
Yeah. So yeah. What else is I'm in an editing hellhole right now, which is going to take up the rest of this day, trying to get the indie rock course ready for the Academy 4. Actually, that will be live on the Academy by the time this podcast goes up, which will be Monday the 2nd. So stoked for that. It's taken me a long time to do this course. It was a lot of editing, and I still have like 5 more videos to edit, and it'll be a while. It'll keep me busy, but really stoked for that course. And then lastly, got a live stream on May the 4th. To showcase April's challenge, which will be the huge collab track that I'm doing with all the members, and that I'm very much looking forward to. That'll be really fun.
Do you ever do vocals to it?
I think someone just sent me some backup vocals. I haven't listened to them yet, but I think one of my members, John, sent me something cool. in that realm. But I'm still open to ideas from the members.
I meant to listen last night to the one you put out the other night, 25th, I think.
Yeah.
You put out an update.
Yeah.
I'll go listen to that. Or have you put his vocals on yet?
No, not yet, because I literally just got that email yesterday.
Once you put those on, I'll
on.
listen and see if there's anything vocally I could add.
Sure.
And that will be the last thing I throw on there. So,
icing on the cake. I love it. Get some Eric crooning.
I hear some of those things I did in there, kind of you've added to them and different things.
The melody the piano melody that you added was great. And then someone took that and doubled it up with their guitar part. So it was very cool.
Yeah, I heard that. That's very cool.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my week. How about you?
I've just been continuing to refine my my day hours when I'm not teaching at night, which continues to go great and is fun. We start music theory next week, so I'm really excited to go through that curriculum and talk about music theory. It's a challenge, I think, to teach musicians who want to go into a life of recording / music business / what we do as composers or whatever, anybody wanting to make music income. The challenge is, how much music theory do you need, and how much is actually going to help you in the real world, you know? And that's kind of my goal as I teach this is, what's the stuff you're going to need to know when you're in the studio, or when you're working with bands, or when you're working at a church job or a teaching job, or what? I mean, teaching job, you're going to need to know all the music theory. But if you're just going to work in a studio, how much music theory do you need to know? What do you need to know? And there's so much we're going over. Some of it will just be like skimming, and some of it will be like, you need to know how to read charts. You need to know, what a whole note is, and stuff like that. But and I plan to teach some of it through the DAW. So I'm excited about that. But this part of my day, the day from when I get up to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I still work for clients. I still work on my YouTube channel. I still compose and do licensing. So what I've got done this week is I submitted 3 songs to a taxi pitch yesterday, another percussion thing, and I have a lot of those that are stacking up that we're finishing. So I pitched a bunch of those. Nice. I'm working slowly on 2 songs for Stock. Stock has kind of become, and I'm probably going to do a video about this, but it's kind of become, it's slipped back into a hobby position a little bit for me. And I know a lot of people listening to this video or watching this video this podcast will probably know what I'm talking about. Because sometimes when you realize, okay, I've done a lot I can do. I've put a lot of work into this. It's making me this kind of money a month, and that's fine. And that's probably where I'll leave it while I continue to work on stuff for Sync, which could be bigger paydays and a longer road, but a bigger income down the line. Yeah. So in some ways it's like that. I still watch my numbers, but I watch it almost like I watch like investments. Investments grow slowly, or like I watch my YouTube channel stats or whatever. It's just kind of like an interesting thing to look at, not a thing that's going to bring me a lot of money. Because I play it so much differently than someone like even you, I probably play it more like everybody else does, or maybe a little bit more seriously than some people do.
Well, we'll see what the content ID thing turns out to be too, because that will probably affect the way you think about stock, both of us.
Maybe. Yeah. We'll see. There's still no numbers there for me, and we'll talk about that when we get to content ID. But I'm prepping more songs for some songs for some country tracking next week. Then I should be done with tracking for the country album, and then. As you can see behind me, if you've been watching this channel, I kind of redid my studio. I put my keyboards back here together, and then my computer on this, and now it's nice and open in this room, which is a weird, odd 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got like 6 walls that it's really oddly built, this room. So it's not really a mixing room. I designed it more as a writing room, but I just did a little redesign on that, mainly for videos and stuff like that, and light. Nice. I have a new music income video that I'm talking about my new job and how that affects making music income in general, and that's an edited video. And in order to do an edited video a week, I'm going to likely need to only do 1 live per week. And so what I've decided to do is a new schedule for my channel, where starting on Monday with this video that we're doing right now, that will be the first video of the week on the channel, and then I will skip doing a Tuesday music review for that week, and then do my live video on Thursday, and shoot a video in between that will release the following Sunday. And then since you'll have the next day with the YouTube thing, then I'll do a new music Tuesday that week, and then another regular video released later in the week. And so that I'll still be doing about 3 videos a week personally on my channel, which is where I want to be at, but one will be edited. And I think it's important to have edited videos as well as live videos. The live videos are fine, right. But as you know, when you're doing live videos and/or videos where you're talking to people and stuff, there's only so much interest people have in 1-hour videos.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's the thing. There's people. It's great to be able to engage directly with your community. That's the benefit of live videos. But for people who don't have the time for that and want to watch videos for quick information, which is something I do all the time, it's not exactly ideal to have to go through an hour and a half long video. So
And lives just tend to go long. I mean, because people want to ask questions, and more people join as it goes on. And the longer you stay on, the more people join in and talk and ask questions. And that's fun to do with the people who follow your channel, certainly. Yeah. But I think I'm going to have to judiciously, instead of, and I was mainly doing that because it was just the first few weeks of this new thing that I was doing, and my time was limited, so I was only doing lives. But I've seen a slight dip as in channel stats as I've been doing that, because I have less new viewers that are just coming on to say, oh, I want to find out about Pond 5. Oh, I want to find out about that video, and it's only 10 minutes long or whatever. Yeah. And so I've realized the importance. So a little bit of new schedule for the channel, but I think everybody will still be happy. Did a fun music review Tuesday where I talked about corporate music, and I've gone in and really written down all the timestamps for all the songs and where we reviewed songs, but also including one of yours. Yeah. And but I also talked about the paper that I wrote on corporate music, which is I thought would be a cool way to wrap the show, and it worked pretty well. And then stock, as usual, Motion Array is leading the way. I'll probably make about a sixth of what you're making this month, in a similar way. Last month I made 3 times what I'll make this month, but mainly because I had a nice bonus. But right. Unless something, and just like with you, we won't know until the end of this month if a song ends up in a top, what was it, 10 or 20?
Top 20, yeah. Top 20.
Maybe I'll make up in a top 20. You might make more.
Maybe I'll make number 19 or something like that. Yeah, my downloads were like twice already. By this time last month, they were twice what they are now. Getting up to close to 2,000. Right now they're like over 1,000. But I probably won't make the top 20 this month. But I submitted a bunch of new tracks, so hopefully next month. That's my goal now. It's just to get in that top 20 list as much as possible. Yeah,
that's where the pay. That's where the pay is, and
money is. Yeah,
we'll talk about that when we get to the people who pay you and the stock stuff down below, because I want to make a point about that. And so Motion Array, Pond 5, and Audio Jungle have both been fine, except Pond 5 and Audio Jungle have ceased, like stopped since Easter ended, which I expected because Easter, I had a lot of Easter songs up there, and it was going crazy and great. Actually, this is my best Pond 5 month in a while because I got the subscription payment, plus I got a bunch of sales. So I probably made 50 plus on Pond 5 alone this month, which is.
And is that through just track buyouts, or is that through the subscription thing?
Subscription.
Gotcha.
Well, both. It's about half and half. I made about $25, 23 something. So I don't know how many sales that equals, but I made 20 something. I mean, it's all peanuts, but still, it's nice to get a $50 check every month.
Totally, man.
And a little bit more.
That's some groceries,
Absolutely. And so, and those 3 are my trusted 3: Motion Array, Pond 5, or Motion Array, Audio Jungle, Pond 5 in that order usually. Not this month. Pond 5 is bringing more because of this new subscription thing. But those are my trusted 3 libraries to bring income. So let's go ahead and go right in now to our trusted 3, or our trusted resources, basically. The PROs, the distribution companies, the libraries, the content ID companies, and more. So I just have a little list here, and I thought we'd start with the PROs. And everybody who's watching this video or listening to this podcast is going to have to decide for them. I am BMI. I have been since the 90s. And as it turns out, BMI is a great one for licensing, from what I understand. And they've paid me well over the years. I've probably made somewhere in the, I can add it up, but I've probably made somewhere, because I had a rather nice radio hit at one time, I probably made somewhere in the world of, I don't know, 10 to 20 grand off BMI through the years.
Great.
Do you see BMI income off any of your art list stuff? Do you know?
Well, I'm not with BMI. BMI is American.
Oh, you got to be SOCAN. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm SOCAN. That's the Canadian PRO. There's only 2 PROs. There's essentially only one PRO in Canada, which is SOCAN, and then there's another one called Resound, which I'll talk about in a bit, because I'm sort of working with Resound a bit too. But for for anyone that's not in the States, for people, I think most of our listeners are American, so they'll know that you have several options with the States. I think there's three. There's BMI, there's ASCAP, and then there's I miss it. What's the other one, Eric?
CSAC.
CSAC, right? Each of them have like kind of different strengths and weaknesses, from what I understand. But BMI is certainly probably the most talked about one, and like you said, is probably the best for licensing. So SOCAN is what I go through here in Canada, and they are very reliable and a trusted source of income for sure. I've also had some radio traction, which resulted in several $1,000, $2,000-$3,000 payments from SOCAN.
Cool.
And maybe I'll just quickly say that if you are Canadian and you're listening, the SOCAN will not collect Sound Exchange royalties for you. And that is a chunk of money that I had to collect. I had to go and figure out how to collect.
We'll talk about them
separately.
later. I have them on my list. So,
right.
Yeah.
So if you are Canadian, then use Resound for that. You can collect Sound Exchange royalties directly from Sound Exchange, but it's a little bit complicated because you need to jump through some tax hoops.
In Canada?
In Canada, yeah. Resound will take care of all that for you, although the only drawback is that they take a little time to do it. It took about a year to get my Sound Exchange royalties through them, but they're very reliable.
So finishing up with PROs, we have PRS in England and then other countries around the world. And if I'm not mistaken, can you in Canada also sign up for BMI?
Yep. I think any international writer can sign up for BMI. I think they're open to members from all over the world. So
it may not be a bad idea to sign up for both.
No, it might not. You're right. And I might be missing out on some royalties through BMI, that get collected only in the States. I'm not totally sure about that, but
especially when you get into sync, I'm not sure dealing with Artlist and Motion Array that your PRO is that going to be that much of a thing.
Yeah, well, that's a open-ended thing. I just don't know right now whether those kinds of Artlist is going to equal PRO payments over time, but I'm going to assume probably it's not a huge source of income.
Now, does Resound up there pay you anything relating to Spotify?
Resound will collect mechanical royalties, I believe, and they'll collect your performance royalties in the same way that SOCAN does too. I'm pretty sure that you can set that up with them, and I think that they collect all of the things as far as I know.
Because BMI traditionally and ASCAP and CSAC, as far as I know, only collect performance royalties. They do not collect mechanicals. They do not collect, and I guess SOCAN works this way too. They really don't collect basically what you'd think of as radio and TV and any sync not sync royalties, radio and TV performance royalties from classical or concerts or bars and all that kind of stuff.
That's right, yeah.
So that's what those companies, these PROs, pay for, if you're wondering. And that's why they're called performing rights organizations, because they only really collect performance rights. What Steve is talking about with Sound Exchange and with Resound is mechanicals that they collect. And as far as I know, Sound Exchange only collects the royalties from non-interactive music companies like especially satellite radio and iHeartRadio maybe, but certainly Pandora.
Right.
So anything that you go to that you can't literally tell it, play this song, like you can on Spotify or Apple, you go there and you basically listen to what they're playing in that genre and wait to hear what they play. It's non-interactive. You can't tell them play this. You can tell them to play the style, but you can't tell them what song to play.
Right.
And in the States, or as far as I know with Sound Exchange, I don't know, they're probably, are they only a U.S. company, Sound Exchange?
That's what I was under the impression that they were, but I'm kind of reticent to talk too much about it because I'm not an expert on these things.
I don't know. I just know I signed up with them a few years back, and I was looking at my Sound Exchange income, and did I write that down? My Sound Exchange income since 2016, when I first signed up for them, is around $1,300 to $1,400.
That's great.
And the first check was a catch-up check of like 700. Half of it comes from that first check because like I said, I had a bunch of stuff on radio, a lot of stuff on Pandora, a lot of stuff, maybe some stuff that had gone on satellite radio. And they had money waiting for me when I signed up.
So how did, like, maybe just quickly, like, because I'm sure some people are curious about, like, how did you get your song? How did your songs end up on satellite radio? How did that, like, did you hire a radio tracker or something like that?
I haven't seen any on there, so I don't know where that money came from. As far as it's got to be,
is it stock possibly?
Of no, but it's possibly Pandora and it's possibly iHeartRadio and other non. And I don't know much about iHeartRadio, so I don't know if you can call up a song on iHeartRadio. Like, I know you can't on Pandora. You have to listen to a station that might play the music, so it's not interactive. All I know is that there were $776 waiting for me at Sound Exchange when I signed up in 2016, and they just sent me that check. I was like, "Whoa!" And they said that you might have some money waiting for you, and I certainly did. And since then, I've made about the other half of that, about twice that. And I just got a check, I think a couple weeks ago for about $19. It's kind of slowed down because I don't have so much on that kind of stuff anymore, and I haven't been putting out as much new music for those type of things. Then they have something else in the States only called the MLC, which is the Mechanical Licensing Collective.
Right.
And I'll try to remember to put links to all these down in below so you can go and look at all these companies and choose which one is going to be the place you choose. I'm with them, but this is mechanical licensing from Spotify and all the DSPs,
right?
Which is very little.
It's very small.
I've made $5 literally since they started paying me in May of 21. I probably got another $5 check coming up soon, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to go Wendy's and probably have a $4 value meal.
I feel like SOCAN released some kind of statement recently about collecting mechanicals. I have to go and check it out though. But
well, this was the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective, was made based on some laws that were passed in the States.
Yeah.
About songwriters getting paid correctly and things like that, because a lot of people were complaining they weren't getting mechanicals, and they're still arguing over radio and should the performers be paid for radio? Should they get performing rights through BMI because they are the artist? And right now, only writers get paid and publishers get paid through the PROs in the States. And so they're arguing. And the MLC is kind of a first step, I think, in that direction, trying to get people their mechanicals from Spotify versus, I think you could get those through a company like Resound maybe, or a company like, what's the other one that's Song Trust is another one.
Songtrust is one to look at.
Gather those things, and they gather that worldwide though. MLC, I'm pretty sure, only does the States.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of royalties that get generated that are, and it's such a strange world. But if you're a performer on a track, even like separate from writing and like intellectual property type stuff, you can get you can collect royalties as a performer if your track that you performed on kind of makes its way into the satellite radio station or terrestrial radio networks. You can collect on those royalties too, even as just a performer. So there's all these kind of mysterious royalties that get generated that are floating around, but you have to jump through some hoops to collect them. We're
going to talk about mechanical royalties more here when we talk about distribution, and so that is basically your first companies that you really need to look at. Who is taking care of you and your royalties in your country, or who are you deciding to sign with? Because I hear lots of our European friends saying, I'm signing up with BMI today or whatever.
Yeah.
And so are you choosing BMI? Are you choosing ASCAP? You can't choose CSAC. That's invitation only in the States. Are you choosing in Canada, SOCAN? Are you choosing PRS in England? Are you choosing your country's PRO? That's number one. Can you get involved with something like Sound Exchange or Song Trust or Resound? And I don't know any. I've heard of Resound before, but I those are other ones to look into that collect mechanical royalties. And then if you're in the States, the MLC, it's just the MLC.com. But again, we'll put links down to all these things down below, and you can go check them all out. But you really should have a trusted PRO. You should have a PRO that you are with, that you've done research on, and you say, I'm going to sign up, especially if you're doing anything that might result in a performance rights organization, a performance rights payment. And we don't know. It may be that that people are paid for stock, and certainly they will for sync probably, but for stock, it's possible that some television show could license your song and put it on their show.
Oh yeah, we talked to several members in the Discord community where that's very specific situation has happened. It gets picked, a track gets picked up for TV show. That TV show ends up on a broadcast network, and it equals PRO payments.
Yep.
It definitely happens. It's not common, but it happens, which is why if you are putting your stuff in stock, you should always be registering it with a PRO. From what I understand, a lot of, and I'm not gonna speak to specifically which countries these are, but from what I understand, speaking to people in the Discord and from around the world, is that a lot of PROs specific to certain countries are very unreliable, which is, I think, one of the reasons why a lot of international writers sign up with BMI, because they have a much more kind of a robust system for paying their rights holders.
And if you do plan to get into sync, I from what I've heard, BMI is a better one. Now, ASCAP members may disagree with that, and if you do, and if you're watching this, please leave a comment below if you're watching the video, or get in touch with us somehow. All right, so let's move into distribution now. So if you are putting your music online, if you're doing whether you're doing the Barracuda method, what do you call it?
The Barracuda way.
The Barracuda way. This is the way. Whether you're doing that, he would love that.
He's gonna have to trademark that.
You're going to have to decide who you're going to use to get your music to Spotify, to get your music to Apple, get your music everywhere.
Yeah.
And there are lots of them. The ones I personally have experience with are DistroKid and CDBaby. A lot of CDBaby experience going back to 1999, in fact.
Yeah.
Amuse, which I just started working with this year because that's who Dan works with.
Right.
Song Trader, which I've used over the past year or two, and I want to do some free distribution. They offer a decent service. And then there's companies like TuneCore and Ditto and AWOL and tons more. And actually, I'm going to do a video on this, possibly sponsored by DistroKid or CDBaby, about these and my experience with them. But the point here in this show is, who do you put your trust in that you like working with? For Dan Barracuda, he trusts Amuse. He's used Amuse. He can't say enough about it. He loves it. For me, it'd probably be DistroKid, just because I've been using that. And for my clients, it'd be CDBaby most of the time, because a lot of them are doing one-offs. They're not doing a single every month or two. And so it just doesn't pay for them to be using a company that they have to pay yearly to keep everything up, versus CDBaby, which is more of a one-off payment and you're done forever. You know, it's always up.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I know of, and like I said, I prefer DistroKid, especially if I'm releasing a lot of music.
Yeah, well, TuneCore was the one that I'm using for my band, and that wasn't really because I chose it. It was something that my manager set up at the time that we released our music. So it's still live through TuneCore. I have no issues with them. They've paid me, whenever they pay me, and they without any issues or hassle or anything like that. It's a little bit more expensive, that's for sure, to put stuff up there. I mean, you can't argue with the DistroKid's distribution price, for the entry level. I mean, it's like ridiculously cheap, and I've been using them to put my lo-fi stuff on Spotify, and I got no complaints about them. I mean, I'm still waiting a payout for the streams, which is not going to be a lot. But I think I did a bit of research on DistroKid at the time that I was looking for, which to figure out which distributor I wanted to use for the lo-fi stuff. And there's a few scary videos of, on YouTube of people saying that they didn't get paid properly from DistroKid, and they had a hard time communicating with the company, because I think it's a very, very small team. So I was a little bit put off by that, but I think, from what I gather, overwhelmingly people say good things about it, and they're certainly fast. I mean, it's live on Spotify within days, and I've had no issues with the actual release process myself, and I'm able to see to track my earnings on the back end of it, and I don't know. I mean,
super fast for me. Good customer service. Whenever I've had a problem, they get right back to me in a day or so. And
cool.
Then I really love their tools. Their hyperfollow thing is super great.
I should have mentioned
free.
that. Yeah.
It comes with it. CDBaby has one that they kind of align with called Here Now, which is also not bad, but you got to pay extra for it. And now, that all being said, you could go out and find some free, what do they call those things? Link in bio things that you could link up and put all your stuff out to as well.
Yeah.
But DistroKids is tied in. They kind of have a thing with, I think they're somehow aligned with Spotify. So they get stuff in quick to Spotify, but they really do a good job with that hyperfollow thing. They have some other things that are fun for people to use and get their music heard and lots of things. But CDBaby has been a reliable source for me and my clients for over 23 years now. And I have had stuff for sale since 1999 up there personally and for clients. And it stung a few years ago when they quit doing CDs, the actual CD release. As a matter of fact, right before this taping, I was talking to one of my guitarists in Nashville who's put a fantastic jazz record out, and he's like, "How do I sell CDs?" I'm like, "Dude, you have people pay you and you send them out yourself. I mean, you literally have to do self-survey, self-mailings." Now, I don't know if, so I told him I'd look into it. Somebody somewhere is missing a business possibility by not starting up another version of a CD-only version of CD and vinyl shipping service or something like that.
I had no idea that they'd integrated that kind of shipping and stuff through like CDBaby itself. Like, that
was what they were from the beginning. That's why they're called CDBaby. They took CDs in, and this is long before streaming, 1998 or 1999. And Derek Sivers basically started it just because some friends wanted him to sell some CDs for them. And then it just became this huge monster. And then they had warehouses, and they moved to somewhere in Washington where they were doing all this stuff and had a big warehouse. And up until 2 or 3 years ago, you could send them 5 CDs at a time. If you sold lots, you could send more. And they would ship them in a beautiful envelope and all that kind of stuff for you. And they would take they always take $4 an album cut, or they have some kind of cut. I can't remember what it is for singles, but it was like $4 for every CD sold. So I would sell my CDs or my client's CDs for $13.99. Every client would make $9.99, $10 a CD. Clean. They didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to do any mailing, and all of that was done by CDBaby. But CDBaby said when they closed that service down 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, they said it had gotten to the point where their CD service was somewhere like only like 13% of their business. Everything else was streaming, sending stuff to streaming, sending stuff to downloads, and even downloads were going down. It was more streaming. So, and they even took their download service off too. They had a service that you could have people download from CDBaby from your account. So all that is gone now. CDBaby really needs to change their name, even though they still do take CDs and will sell them through Amazon in a kind of sort of way.
Right.
They're really more of a DistroKid that just does a one-time fee and then takes a portion of it of every single or album that you put up in digitally. They only work digitally now. So no more downloads from them. No more CD warehouse that they sell, that they ship to everybody. You have to ship yourself. So that's a whole nother thing as far as CD shipping. We're not going to get into that now. And then Amuse I've used for a few new singles recently, and it's worked flawlessly. It's a very nice interface. Not as many frills as DistroKid, but maybe a slicker interface for sure. And SongTrader, not as slick an interface, and a kind of an add-on to what else they do at SongTrader.
Yeah, they do too many things there at SongTrader. They gotta trim it, man. Like they're just doing so much. Like I don't understand. Like they're
like a Swiss Army knife site kind of.
I don't get it. I don't want.
By the way, if you want to see all the things that CDBaby that SongTrader does, SongTrader, I have a video here where I go through every single thing, and they do a lot of things.
They do a lot of things.
You know, the most payments I get from them is from my distribution right now. So
there you go.
We'll see.
There you
All
go.
right. Well, I'm going to run up against a time crunch here if we don't keep going through here. So let's move on to Content ID. This should be relatively short because I don't know many Content ID places, and we both now are signed with Identify, and there's also AdRev. And then you can also sign up, and all CDBaby, DistroKid, they all have a way for you to collect Content ID through them.
Yeah.
I would say that's, talk about an add-on service. I think that's kind of an add-on service. I don't think you're going to have somebody as hawkish, so to say, as Identify to really go out and find those YouTubes that are using your music.
For anyone who didn't catch that reference, they're owned by a company called Hawk. And yeah, like to your point, I mean, we have no real way to know this for sure, but from the people we've talked to who are collecting good chunks of money from Content ID, they all seem to be with Identify, and it seems to me that Identify is winning the game in terms of detection of your tracks in content. So we both have our fingers crossed here that Identify was the right choice in terms of like getting that Content ID revenue. But there is a lot of services, like you said, that offer that Content ID in the same way. But I want to go with a trusted source there, and we've talked to Lester from Blue Fox Music, who's cleaning up in the Content ID department. I mean, he's with Identify. I think if you go to Audio Jungle and you look at all these tracks that are being registered with Content ID, they're all Identify. I mean, they seem to be like in the forefront in terms of like trusted companies. So, I will
say this about CDBaby. Like I said, I use them still for a lot of my clients because I can't trust that my clients are going to do a lot of brands and a lot of singles. They may do one every quarter, one every year, maybe. It just depends on what fire they have in their belly. But I can put something on CDBaby, and just did this last week, where I release something out on CDBaby, and then our usual release cycles, we release it, and then 3 days later, like we release on Friday the new single that's been released by this artist, and then on Monday we'll release a music video that we've been working on for it. And I will tell you that once it's released from CDBaby onto Spotify at all, on Monday when I put that video up, it's flagging it. And at CDBaby is the one flagging it because it's saying this video, it has content that is owned. And my clients sometimes freak out about that. What do you mean the CD is owned? Who's it owned by? I'm like, it's owned by you. You own it through CDBaby.
Yeah, right.
And CDBaby is finding that. So they immediately are finding it. My problem is I just don't know. I've not seen them pay because I have a few videos that are in the tens of thousands. I don't know if I have one that's in the hundreds of thousands, maybe, but I've barely ever seen anything but pennies from CDBaby from that kind of thing. Right. Now, maybe I'll only see pennies from Identify, but I doubt that's the case because I would imagine we'll see a little bit more since those things from CDBaby are for songs that are being played on YouTube, which is not as many as probably songs that stock music is going to get into videos where people are watching for a long time. Right. Traditionally, there's not a lot of money made from YouTube music, and they pay the lowest YouTube as a payer. So I don't know how Content ID pays out to CDBaby, DistroKid, and those kind of things.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, yeah, we will certainly see. All right. So let's, since content is new, and keep watching this channel and listen to this podcast because there will be updates as we see money come in. And I'm expecting Stevie B especially to do well on Content ID with the success he's had with Motion Array and Artlist.
We'll see.
So,
I hope
you
so.
should. I mean, with that many downloads that we've seen, and we'll be able to compare what he's done with his downloads and what I've done with my downloads, and mine is probably a little bit more realistic to a lot of our viewers, and so we can see, and see how that goes.
Yeah.
And then finally, let's talk about the stock libraries, and maybe we could talk a little bit about sync, but eventually you're going to find those libraries that bring you consistent money. Which ones are they? And it seems at the end of the year, I did where did you make the most money in stock music? And it was the same three that I'm talking about: Motion Array, Audio Jungle, and Pond 5 seem to be the majority and the top ones. But every one is going to have different ones. For Steve, it's Artlist that is definitely a big one. And of course, it's not easy to get an Artlist, or it's not easy to get in. I think Dan Barracuda is also starting to see some sales at Music Fine.
Yeah.
Great. And so we'll have a report on that at some point this year from him.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, and it was an unimpressive number for his first month's number, I think, if I remember right. But we'll continue to look at that.
They do monthly payouts there at Music Fine?
Don't know.
Yeah,
I think so. I think he said he
or
got
maybe
paid
quarterly or something. I can't remember if he said that.
I don't know. I just think he said he got a payment already.
Cool, that's awesome, man.
But we'll have a more comprehensive video on that once he gets going. Maybe after 6 months or so, and he really knows what it's going to look like month to month, when he gets paid, all that stuff, and we'll talk about that on this channel for sure.
Sweet.
Audio Sparks is one I make a little bit of stuff on, and I mean a very little. I did a video about that, which you can see up here, and kind of what goes on with that. And then, of course, I talked about Song Trader, which really isn't a stock library, and we've already talked about them. They're kind of a jack of all trades. Anybody else you would add to that makes you any income as far as beyond Motion Array, Artlist, Audio Jungle, or Pond 5?
Yeah, well, there's income that's been made on VFine and 100 Audio, but I just haven't collected any of it, or like I haven't reached the threshold on 100 Audio for a payout, and I've sort of just neglected to. I haven't even gone on the sites and looked at my sales. Like I've sort of like they've just kind of dropped off my radar. I really got
to. Is so weird, right?
VFine is going through this weird transition where they're trying to develop a new site. People are getting sales on the old site. They're not getting any sales on the new site, or vice versa. It's all extremely confusing. I don't know what's going on over there, but yeah, this seems to be. I don't know. There's sort of a big question mark with the Chinese libraries. Although, we had a couple of members in the Discord say that they make regular. One dude in particular said that he's collected like over $600 in the last year from 100 Audio. So there you go. And that's not an insignificant amount of money. Although I think that the exchange when you get paid is like you get a big deduction on it or something like that. And I'm not sure what that is exactly, but it doesn't doesn't get me excited as I once was about working with VFine and 100 Audio, but there's potential to make money there too. So I can't say that I can't write them off completely, because there is people that are doing well on those sites.
I think 600 was about my Audio Jungle income for last year, it looks like. And so, yeah, I think when we're looking at this and someone like yourself, you probably are pretty Artlist centric right now, wouldn't you say? As far as when you're thinking about stock libraries, Artlist, the company, including Motion Array.
Yeah, I mean, Artlist and Motion Array just are it's like what I focus on, because I make almost all my revenue from them. I mean, ideally it would be great to have an assistant upload some of these tracks to Motion Array or Audio Jungle and Pond 5, because I'd love to get on board with the subscription program on Pond 5 to get my music more downloads, like increase my chances for Content ID revenue in the future. But like I said, in the last podcast, I just don't have time, man. I don't have time for the uploads.
This whole podcast, this whole episode is about the trusted sources that are going to bring you monthly income. And so you are hedging your bets, and you should be, because of the success you're having on Artlist and Motion Array. And so that's what we're talking about here. For me, it's more Motion Array, Audio Jungle, and Pond 5. And that even that is on a very part-time level for me compared to all the other things that make me music income. But as far as companies that are going to pay me, not clients. If I had a client or a company, and you have had some, like when you did the Google thing, or when you have worked for other companies, and they are companies that you can count on. You probably still have that one company that you work for a lot, and they're a trusted company. That
actually, I should maybe talk about that a bit, because we're talking about companies here, which is the point of this podcast. But sorry, not companies, but like we're talking about specifically about like kind of
trusted sources.
Trusted sources. There's going to be, if you're in the composing game, you know, and you're working for clients that like, or if you're like, let's take this discussion outside of the world of music libraries. If you get a request for work and stuff like that, and you know these come in various ways, like email. I've gotten requests through Instagram, whatever. If you're in this game and or you're just starting out with it, I want to tell you, you know, for sure, like do not lift a finger until you sign a contract. There's going to be people out there who are going to ask you to do work, or you know, ask you for to get involved, or they're going to, you know, there's going to be a lot of talk, and trust me, this has happened to me multiple times, and they're going to dangle, you know, there's going to be talk about money. They're going to dangle like, you know, some money in front of you, or the idea of it. Don't do anything until you sign a contract. If anything is unreliable, if anything is an unreliable source of income out there, it's people. There's a lot of flaky people out there. Individuals. You know, I've had people ask me for, you know, to work on stuff through Instagram messages, for example. And I'm always, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm interested, but like nothing's going to happen until you put a contract in front of me. And you show me the exact terms, and I get it down at like a maybe 50% up front at least.
Well, and you can afford to do that. I think there are going to be people, and I've been in this situation before, where you're not having a lot of success on any stock library. Mm-hmm. You're not getting any money from a distributor. You're not in Content ID, and you're not even sure which PRO you're going to work on. But someone down the street or your uncle or your friend or whatever said, hey, will you create something for me? I'll pay you $200, and here's $50 down. You know, that may not be a contract situation necessarily.
Oh yeah. That might that's be a friend or like a relative or something like that asking,
or totally even different. A stranger who comes along and says, "I want you to make. Can you take this and do stuff for me?" Contracts are great, but contracts can also be. I don't work on contract for every person I work with. As a matter of fact, because they only pay me monthly or by the job, and so they're small jobs. They're not $15,000 jobs. When you start talking about that kind of thing, where you're talking about a $5,000 job, or even a $1,000 job, you probably are going to want to sign some kind of contract for that,
100%,
just to have it set up.
It's not so much. The contract is just a show of good faith. You know, it's the understanding that there's that the whole situation is real. And it's not just BS talk. Like you want to know what you're getting into. You want to understand the terms of the deal. And there's a lot of people that are just kind of, you know, they're throwing out words. They're not that serious, and you might not know it until it's too late. So it happens, and I've heard some horror stories from people that I've talked to. So you got to be careful. Well, people out there will take advantage of you, but I don't want to sound like I'm distrusting of everybody. You know, of course, if it was, there has to be some, depending on the situation. You know, like for example, I understand that you don't work with all your clients on a contractual basis, and if you meet them in person, it's a handshake deal that might be totally sufficient. But I don't know. I'm just talking from experience. Believe me.
But there is trust that at every level we've talked about, from DistroKid, where you've heard things about that. You have to decide if you're going to trust them. CDBaby, is that who you're going to trust? BMI and ASCAP and all the PROs. We have no idea really how all that is tallied.
So true.
And so Motion Array, Audio Jungle, Pond 5, we don't know their machinations, and Motion Array just changed all their machinations to where some people don't want to even work with them anymore. So identify. We have no idea how that's going to work out yet. We just don't know. And so all these are all about who you are going to trust, what works for you, and which ones. Like, I know BMI just over time has worked. I know DistroKid and CDBaby over time have just worked. And I'll have to find out about Identify. I knew that Motion Array brought a certain thing, and then it changed. I know what Audio Jungle and Pond 5 kind of do. It changes all the time. So you just have to decide which ones you're going to trust. And we've just been trying to throw out here some of the ones that you might want to look into, and we'll try to put as many links down below to all these places depending on how much space I have that I can put. But you can usually go and search any of these and find what we've been talking about. But that's about it for me as far as what I have. It's time for me to move on to my next music income. So any other final thoughts, Steve?
It's time for me to go back to editing hell. Wish me luck.
Well, good luck with that. And everybody, thank you so much for listening or watching here on the podcast. And we'll be back next week with something else that we think of and talk about for a while.
Yep. Thanks for listening,
All right.
guys. See ya.
Good luck making music income. See you next time.
See you next time.